Hey, this is Tyrese Anderson. So, what I want to talk about today is a very important topic that seriously needs to be discussed, that hasn't been discussed quite often, and is very important if you want to be happy. So, for this video, I'm going to talk about um, why it's important for you to never rely on one person to make you happy. So, this video is going to be actually kind of disturbing because it's going to talk about the effects relying on one person to make you happy will have on you. Unlike my other video where I talked about how to entertain yourself, which relates to the similar topic as this video is going to talk about the negative effects it can have on you in full detail. So let's get started here. And just before, well, officially we get started, just remember to watch this whole video. And trust me, it will be very informative, disturbing, but it will be quite informative to help you when it comes to understanding why you should avoid situations like this at all costs. Okay? That's it. And now we really will officially get started. So let's get started with discussing what happens when you rely on one person to make you happy. Whether it could be a best friend, a girlfriend, maybe an older brother, an older sister, if you're a female, and all that type of stuff. What happens when you rely on one person to make you happy, in all honesty, and you don't do your best to try to figure out who you are as a person and do your own thing? Well, let's get started discussing what will happen. So, the first thing that happens when people who have had situations like this happen to them is, simply put it, they always feel a sense of emptiness for people who rely on one person to make them happy. And then they have a falling out, especially if they know them for many years, even to their teens or 20s, and they had a falling out with them. Because, so yeah, as a result of that amount of time, they always feel a bit empty. Whenever they do something, they think about that person and they think about how that person would react, and they always feel this sense of a bit of bitterness and loneliness in them. There's always something that feels like it's missing. It literally feels like something's missing in you when it comes to meeting someone. And the thing is that it will always be completely impossible, especially if you really were close to them, for you to ever truly completely recover from it. Okay, you'll always have that feeling, always have some degree of nostalgia for it, and you will always feel a bit empty inside, a bit lonely, or just feel like even if you meet new people, you always kind of remember that person and feel quite down about that. So that's the first thing that is a result of what happens when you rely too much on one person to make you happy. Is that the second thing you'll have a bit of an identity crisis, because the truth of the matter is, since you've built so many good memories, some of your best memories possible, imaginable, with this person, who now you absolutely hate this person, the truth of the matter is, they always tell you, whenever you have a situation like this, if you understand anything about psychology and all that stuff, or just more precisely have spoken to psychologists, they always tell you to move on and do new things and move forward and think towards a future and all that stuff. But the truth of the matter is that it's always going to be easier, especially when you think about your youth, to remember the people you the good times, if anything, when you're young. Because the human brain is designed to focus on simplicity. Simplicity is how we are designed as human beings. We focus on things that are simple because it's more straightforward. It's not even just down to simply put it at to anything else or something like it relates to our personal intelligence. It's just the fact that simplicity is just simply how the human brain works. It's based on evolution, because simplicity It's more straightforward. It has a basic message instead of overcomplicating things and stuff. So humans are always going to be designed for simplicity, if anything. It's seeing the bigger picture. Just like when you're trying to figure out how to do something, what's more better to spend your time thinking about all what I'm going to have to specifically do to do it if I want to invent something, or having a vision of what will happen if I invent this. Obviously, having a vision of what will happen if you invent this is much better from an evolutionary perspective because it gives you a vision of where things are going to go. Human brains are not designed to think on very complicated things, or just in general, we're designed for simplicity. And when it comes to this, it's no different. You're going to think about the easier things because that's what a huge portion of your life um, simply consisted of, meeting this person and knowing this person. So you will have an identity crisis because if you try so hard to think towards the future and build new experiences and stuff, but you also try to kind of forget the past, or just maybe try to shut out certain memories of that particular person, it makes it more likely you will kind of forget who the old you is. And if you forget who the old you is, you kind of become a new person who you might not even recognize. It's kind of like having two personalities. So that's a second thing that will happen, if anything, though. If you rely on one person to make you happy, or just in general one person to show you the better things in life, that's a second negative effect that will happen. Now let's get to the third one. Now this one, the third one, is also the last one. There's other effects, psychological effects that can happen, but this one is quite this kind of disturbing, if anything, is that because of those experiences of meeting that person, and of course, whenever you have a falling out, particularly in the society we live in, people are obsessed with being successful. You will, of course, have had moments where that person will have told you you'll never amount to anything and this and that. So, which will lead to this issue, which is the whole extreme desire to become successful. Now, there's nothing wrong with becoming successful, but you will feel more intense pressure to become successful because you will always feel like you're trying to prove that person wrong. If anything, if anything, uh, which you might have had desires to be successful, but now you have a stronger desire to be successful, which might seem like it's helpful and motivational, but it's actually quite toxic. Because the moment you actually start to fail at things or have problems or run into issues, you'll think about what that person has said about you and said, oh, you'll never do this, you'll never amount to that. And it can, even if you're not a strong person, or just maybe in general made wrong choices for figuring out what you want to become good at, when it comes to becoming successful, it can lead to some really messed up situations and even an inferiority complex if you're not strong enough. So there's a lot. So this one is quite disturbing, and it can lead you to hate yourself. And it also, another effect of this is you will always compare yourself to that person. Oh, that person would have probably figured that out, or that person probably would have done this, he would have done that, or just in general, oh, that person's probably doing so much better life than me, and all that type of crap. That's another negative side effect of this stuff. So, truth be told, you have to be aware of this stuff, and this is why you have to do your best to avoid people like that. Type of person's a narcissist. You want to ignore them unless you want to have these effects. These effects are really horrible, they're terrible, and if you're not strong enough or even have the worst situations imaginable, you might, for example, be pulled over by the police and spend a few years in jail for a crime you didn't commit, for all you know, or something. You won't have the ability to actually do anything to develop anything you're working on, which will just make you feel like even more crappy about yourself. So you should never in life rely on one person. Even when you start interacting with people, get to know a lot of people. If you meet women, don't think in your mind, this is the one for me. This is all that there is. Of course, be as loyal as possible when you date that person, but don't have anyone in life, whether it's a female, like in the case of a girlfriend, or even your friends show you life for you. Never rely on one person and show you anything for you. Even and also of course get to know as many people as possible. Don't do any of those two things. Know only one person and have someone show it things to you. Because all it's gonna do is make them feel subconsciously that they're better than you and they're above you. And and everyone in the world has a bit of evil in them, and they will sometimes just do things just simply for the sake of it that they didn't really need to do. So these are things I'm trying to warn people about so this doesn't happen to you, so you don't get stung really badly. So this is my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like more videos like this, remember to hit the subscribe button and thumbs this video up. And this is all I have to say. Later.